Good morning. Welcome to Ramblings with Joe. I'd like to talk about being nice today and what it's done for me in my life. And being nice is something that I think we can all do. And being respectful is something that I think that we should all endeavor to be very, very respectful. Being nice to people we love is very easy. When someone comes into the room that you love and they say, "I wish I had a cup of coffee," well, it's really easy just to jump up and make a cup of coffee for them. It's pretty freaking awesome, actually. It makes you feel really good when you put a smile on the face of someone you love. And that is really my driving force in life, is to try and make the people that I love as happy as I can. There are quite a few people in my life that I do love. And then there's the people that I am an acquaintance with. And in life, we oftentimes find ourselves being nicer to the people that we are acquainted with than we are to the people who we love. And I think that has to do with taking people for granted. So, in a relationship, if you have a significant other and you are, say your spouse, and you are in an argument, it becomes very easy when you are that close to someone to become very, very angry and express that anger through ugliness toward that person that you have expressed that they are the person you love the most. It's very easy to fall into that trap, and that trap can lead down a road of destruction. So the ability to take out our anguish and anger and frustration on the people we are closest to, it's always right there. And the most successful relationships that I have seen, and I think the reason that my relationship is one that I consider to be very successful, is because when we get to that point, and this didn't happen immediately, but when we get to that point, we walk away. And that's something I had to learn. And Em had to teach me how to walk away when I'm very angry, or she's very angry. She would walk away and I would chase her. That was horrible. So I had to learn to let a cooling off period happen, because, like I said yesterday in the podcast, I can be very argumentative. And when I'm very angry, I can be extremely condescending. And I had to let that stuff go. And once you start doing that in your personal relationships, it becomes even easier to do that with people who don't like you and people who seem to be striving to make your life miserable. One of the tenets of my beliefs is people who are in that category, that are striving to, who appear to be, because oftentimes they are not actually trying to make your life miserable. Oftentimes they are just trying to, I think oftentimes they're just being dismissive of your feelings and any respect that they have for you. And that is expressed and seems to be that they are trying to make you miserable. And there are those who are out there trying to make you miserable, trying to make you uncomfortable in life, and trying to make you hostile toward them and everyone else. But those people are easy to delineate from the people who are just dismissive of you. And I'm not sure which one is worse, and my guess would be the dismissive one on a psychological level would be my guess. The ability to dismiss someone is kind of dehumanizing, and I think that someone who is angry at you and expresses that anger, that person actually cares. And when you can recognize that person cares, maybe doesn't care about you, but cares that you are in their lives and don't want you there, well, there's a level of caring there. And even if it's not caring for you, there's there is the caring there. And I think that the best way to handle that person is to be super nice to them. Not not uh not artificially nice, not that saccharine nice that is, comes out more condescending than it does actually being a good person to them, but actually genuinely being nice. I tend to do this in expressions of activities. I tend to do things for the people, and I try not to take credit for the things that I do for those people, mostly because I'm doing it for myself more than I'm doing it for them. So I'm thinking of a few specific instances in my recent history where the people, they obviously did not like me and they wanted to harm me. So being nice to these people, there's a few effects that it has on them, and they're not even aware that these effects are happening. Number one, if their life is better when you are around, that has a psychological impact on them. And number two, when they have less stress in their life, they tend to have an easier time backing up and looking at their life and seeing, what am I doing wrong here? Sometimes that doesn't happen. In one specific case that I can think of, it never did happen. It never will happen. And that person has been sort of removed from my everyday life. So, more importantly, what that does for me on a very personal and very basic level is it takes that anger that I might feel when someone is being ugly or mean toward me, and it dissipates it. It does away with it. It takes it out of my life, and it's done. Doing something nice for someone who has shown a great deal of animosity toward me actually takes that frustration out of my heart and out of my consciousness and dissipates it away. As I do the activity, as I do the kindness toward that person, it goes away. The anger that I'm feeling about that person, it goes away because I realize while I'm doing it that the person that I'm doing it for, whether they want to or not, is going to have the gift of that kindness in their life. And that's what changes people. When somebody is very angry at you and is trying to be destructive in your direction, to your person, I'm not talking about physical violence here, but if they're being destructive to your environment or to your relationships with others, that kind of thing, doing something kind for them, it will probably confuse them. And confused people don't want to be confused, so they'll try and straighten it out. But it will ease your consciousness about anything that you may have done that caused that anger toward you. That doesn't mean they'll ever like you. That doesn't mean they'll ever be nice to you. What it does mean is that you're being nice to them, and your soul is growing, and your consciousness is growing, and you're getting a better understanding of your own emotional self. How to handle a person who is violent? The best thing to do is walk away. Obviously, if they're being physically violent, you have a responsibility to defend yourself. If they represent a threat to your family, when I can, I remove my family and myself from the situation. In recent months, that has literally come up. Someone wanted to fight with me. I'm 61 years old. I'm a little bit long in the tooth to be fighting. So, my wife and I were there, and instead of engaging in this individual and rising to the level of violence that he was obviously seeking, I chose to remove myself from the situation. That's a human thing to do, the humane thing to do. That is the if you're a Christian, that's the Christian thing to do. If you are an atheist, it is the thing to do to avoid conflict. So there's no reason to engage in violence. I have some culpability in that situation. And when I walked away, I realized I had some culpability, and I had to do a little bit of self-examination. I was not nice to this man or his wife, and although I think that the animosity that was fostered between those two relationships justified me not being nice, it didn't do me any good to not be nice. So, because the relationship was so toxic, I chose to remove myself from it and no longer participate in any aspect of that relationship. When we get to the point of violence, the best thing we can do is remove ourselves from the situation, whether it's immediate or long term. Being nice is sometimes very difficult. Being nice is sometimes... Look, I had to deal with the repercussions of a person on a daily basis who didn't like me. And I struggled so hard to be nice to this guy. And it was over, I think it was over a year. If it wasn't over a year, it was almost a year. And eventually I found my groove. Eventually, it takes a while, but eventually I got to the point where I was like, okay, this guy's going to be pardon my language, but this guy's going to be a jackass. And he's going to do this every day. And every day I'm going to do this set of actions. And once I fell into that groove, it was such a huge relief. It was such and instead of an anger outlet every day, I didn't need that anger outlet anymore, because every time I did this set of actions, the anger dissipated and I got into a better mood. No matter what happened, that was what I did. And I set myself on that course, and that course took me down the road of happiness, which is kind of the goal in life. Even if you're seeking happiness through money, you're seeking happiness. If you're seeking happiness through sexual relationships, you're seeking happiness. I don't agree with either one of those, but that is the ultimate goal, to become happy. And when you realize that your goal of happiness should include the people around you, at that point you are truly seeking happiness, because you're building a community of happiness. And the advantages of having a community of happiness is when you're having a really bad day, all those people around you, wow, now you have a support system that can continue to make you happy. I got a buddy, and I talk to him on the daily. And when I'm in a bad mood, he senses it. And he will try to bring me up. And I don't know if I tell him that I appreciate it enough. I don't get in a bad mood very often. But when I do, he's right there. And he will call me on it. And when he calls me on it, because this guy is usually up, he usually has a good outlook on life. But when he calls me on it, I realize I need to take a break, and I need to do a little bit of introspection. I need to get my head on straight. Use whatever, saying you want to do. But sometimes your true friends will tell you when you're not doing well. And immediately, I will try and find something nice to do for someone, because that is a mood enhancer like you wouldn't believe. If you are feeling horrible, if you are feeling down on humanity in general, if you have someone who is a thorn in your side, find someone to be nice to and try it. It's amazing. It is amazing that this will raise your mood level to the level of happiness. It sounds strange, but you become grateful for being able to do something nice for somebody. And once you're practiced at this, you can be nice to your enemies, and they're no longer your enemies, because your consciousness and your emotions. They twist everything around. And for so long in life, we've been not nice to our enemies and not nice to our to people who are mean. And all of a sudden, we're being nice to this person. So your consciousness and your emotions and your heart are saying this must not be an enemy, which is the point of loving your enemy. So once you start loving your enemy through acts of kindness and niceness, they're no longer your enemy. Now, you may still be their enemy, but they're hurting themselves more than you. And you are now able to release that anger and animosity. And you don't have to like their actions. You'll never like anybody being mean to you, but you will immediately find solace in the fact that you don't have that person as an enemy anymore. Doesn't mean they don't need to be watched. Doesn't mean that you don't need to be suspicious of their actions and what they're about to, try and foist upon you. But the idea that they are no longer an enemy of your emotional state, it's pretty awesome, man. This guy that I used to deal with on the daily, he's not my enemy. I feel bad for him that he's making his life so miserable like he is. At one point, he called me the cat guy because we own cats. And I thought that was one of the funniest things I'd ever heard. I like cats. I didn't always like cats. I'm more of a dog guy, but cats are great, man. Not only are they great, but there are studies that prove that they're good for your heart, because there's something about stroking a cat's fur when they're laying on your lap. There's something about them nuzzling you that, they're showing affection toward you. It is something that does your emotional state in your actual heart, your physical heart. It does it. It helps prevent high blood pressure. It lowers high blood pressure, and it's a calming effect. Yeah, I like cats. And for some reason, he thought that was an insult. The problem is, in my mind, in my emotional state, I turned that around and I was like, nah, I do like cats. It kind of woke me up to the fact that I like cats. So I've been fiddling with my controls again, trying to get my audio better. I think that this is not going to work either. It may just be that I have cheap microphones. I can't afford to spend $1 million on audio equipment. Obviously, I've only made 65 cents doing this. 65 cents. I haven't even got enough money yet to buy a cup of coffee. But I'm enjoying myself, so I'll probably keep doing this for a while. It is therapeutic for me to come into this office, studio, closet, and do my podcast on the daily. And I find that it is a release. What is the word? Is it oxytocin? I think it is. And that's another benefit. Physiologically, your body, when you do something nice, it relieves that chemical that gives you that slight sense of euphoria when you do something nice, whether it's for yourself, for someone else, or for what I'm calling today an enemy. That all is wrapped up into being nice to somebody. And it's not hard. Once you've done it 2 or 3 times, you get to the point where you can get addicted to doing nice things for yourself. You can. And that, I find that a little bit self-destructive, because what you're saying when you're doing only nice things for yourself is to heck with everybody else. If you can find a way to start doing nice things for those around you, and then extend that out to the people who you don't like, you'll actually increase that feeling of euphoria. You'll feel better doing that. That's pretty simple. Do it because you're selfish and you want more of that feeling. And then you're not selfish anymore. Works out. It's Thursday. And Thursday means we're coming up on the weekend a little bit closer. I love the weekends. I get to see more of my family than I do during the week. It is Thursday. And on Thursday, you know what we celebrate? life just like any other day of the week. And I'm going to find someone to be nice to. I hope you find someone to be nice to today. I hope that you find peace, love, and dream. Until next time, arrivederci. Thought about moving closer to my family, but my wife really likes the city. I think maybe at retirement we may move to the country or we may stay here. I really like this house and I like my neighbors. They're all very good people. But I have no idea where I was going with that.